Hello class, my name is Patrick Nance, and I am here to present my project for BIA 4010. My project is based on anime recommendations, without bias. This idea with anime came to me when my roommate was wanting to watch a new show to watch, and after an hour of giving him some of my recommendations of what I would watch, I wondered what other people would recommend. And that's where Tableau came in. When we first started to look over what we could do, I started to notice the opportunities that Tableau can give me on different viewpoints. Sometimes my taste in genre is different from a bunch of other people's viewpoint, and the shows I tend to watch are always a lengthy one. For example, one show that I'm playing catch up on right now is One Piece. That show currently has 949 episodes, ranging from, I want to say, about 23-24 minutes each episode. And I found a couple of sources from Kaggle, which is just too much information at once. Like, you can't really fight like reading through over 100,000 sets of data just from show titles alone. And with this source from Kaggle, it's 4 years old, but the material that is on this data set has more than enough to recommend someone an anime without bias. And some of the questions that I wanted to solve are: what is the most popular show that people recommend? Which show has the highest rating? And what would I give for my bias, and what are the ratings and the elements that I can show using the data set? So without further ado, let's get started, and I will go ahead and show you my data set. Alright, let's begin by looking at the data sheet that I call type ratio. There are 6 different types of I wouldn't say genres, but listings of what can be considered a show, a movie, or a special. So we have 6 categories. The first one is TV. TV in this data set has over 137 million episodes just for the TV category. Next we'll look at OVA, which OVA stands for Original Video Animation. That means that everything that in this listing was hand drawn, and that comprises of almost 2.5 million. Next we'll go into the special category. This one has almost 1.5 million episodes in it in itself. When I looked at the data set, the word special has like too many meanings, where it can be a spin-off, or maybe a 5-minute clip, maybe just like some little fun animation that the creators wanted to do. It just depends on how the person that made this data set wanted to view as the word special. Next we have ONA, which stands for Original Net Animation. This has almost 1.2 million episodes. This means that everything that was made in ONA just happens to be made on a computer. So instead of everything being hand drawn, everything was drawn on a computer. Next we'll go into movie, which we have almost 1.1 million movies in this listing, which is pretty impressive. I've probably only seen like 10, maybe 12. And the last listing, which is music, which has 42,000. I've never seen a music anime, nor have I ranged out to look into it, but I might want to research more on what this looks like. And if we go into the next slide, I call this one anime episodes. So these are all of the shows that are listed in this data set. It ranges from 0 to 1800. And if we look at the top rating one, or top episode one, we see that Oyako Club has 18,018 episodes, which, don't be surprised, that is a lot, and I don't think I have ranged that far to see that many episodes for one show. And if we look at the bottom and see as close as possible of what we can get, Pet Shop of Horrors. This has 4 episodes. I've never heard of it. but now that I see this on this list, I might want to look into this later. Alright, let's go on to the top 10 episodes of a show. I called this one the top 10 episodes of a show just because from the previous list, we get a chance to see what shows are actually the top 10 with the most episodes. And as you can see from the past one, Oyako Club is at the top with 18,018 episodes, and the bottom of the top 10 is Ninja Hattori-kun, which is 694 episodes. Pretty impressive that these all range past the 600 mark, because I don't think I've ever seen a popular show break that much, but these could also be old. I've never seen any of these or heard of them, but I've ranged out of the way to look into some of them. Pretty impressive. All different weird genres. Next in our data set, I have the number of ratings per show / movie. So this is more of a top 25 that I've looked into. And if we see the top, the most ratings that we've gotten for Death Note is 297,000, which is pretty impressive. The ratings in this data set range from -1 to 10. So anybody can give something a -1 if they wanted to, if they just really hated it, or they can give it a 10 if they just think it was flat out perfect. Now, some of these on this list I've watched fully, like no questions asked, like ranging from Death Note, Code Geass, Sword Art Online, Angel Beats, etc. I can go on this list on and on, but let's move on to the genre listing. Now, this data set is going to surprise you because this is what all the genres that were put into our list. And right now, I'm going to go to the top. One has null, and if we see how many types and combinations there are in total, we have 3,155, which is surprising. You never knew what show you can get into. A lot of these are very mixed, and some of them can very well be summed down. There's one genre that I will look into more specifically later. It's shonen, if I can find it. Yep, shonen. It is a very mainstream way of watching anime. It's a very popular source of getting some of your easy recommendations. I would just keep that in your back pocket if you ever want to watch like a good popular anime. And now we'll reach on the top 10 based on popularity. So I've mixed this list with max episodes and rating, and as you can see, Naruto has the most episodes with a positive rating. Full Metal Alchemist, this has, I think it's going to go down the list by max episodes, so 64, 51, 37, 25, yep. And all of these have over 200,000 for a positive rating, except Death Note, which is at 342,000 in rating and low numbers in episode, which is good, because I can recommend someone something that's a low episode with a popular rating, or I can tell them, hey, watch Naruto, it has like 200 something episodes. Alright, and now we're going to go to the fan based on show part 2. I've called this one fan based on show part 2 because this one doesn't have the ratings in it. This one has the amount of members that are given into who is watching the show. And in this data listing, Death Note appears on top again with over a million max members. And if we range down the list and go on, everything below that 1 million is just shy under 800,000 or 700,000. Next, we are going to go into my top 3 recommendations. This is going to come in handy later. I picked Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and One Punch Man, but we'll get into that later. I've also got a listing of the top 3 of what ratings they've been given on average. And just for the fun of it, I wanted to see what was the average rating for a lot of other people. And just gives me more even. This gives me even less bias to work with. So we have Full Metal Alchemist, Kimi no Nawa, Mogura no Motaro, and these are all ranging in the 9 ratings average. And again, this is out of 10, so it's a pretty good rating just by fan base alone. And that is going to be it just for the description. Alright, now let's look at the dashboards that I've created for here and what they would do. So the genre listings, I'll be completely honest, is just a scare tactic. It is a big list that shows everything. It may highlight it and show the anime episodes or maybe the genre that it would go into, but it is very likely that we would find something from this list that would match up to the top 10 animes of a show. But just for safekeeping, we'll just have it in there for a scare tactic. I have my type ratio, which if I were to hover over this, we would see everything in this list that range from TV, movie, ONA, special, OVA, and music. And if I were to click on the top 10s of a show, it would tell me how many episodes there are at its max and where it ranges from on the list. Now that's out of the way, let's go to the second dashboard. This one is the fan-based one. I'm trying to click out of everything. Alright, there it goes. This one's the fan-based one. I have my top 25 in the top right corner. I have a funny picture of Naruto saying, "What?" Look at all those numbers. And especially since he's in the top 10 based on popularity. And if we were to look over and click on Death Note, for example, we would have the rating pop up over here. We would have the max number of members pop up over here, and we would have a mix from both of them in the top 10 categories. And I'm pretty sure that all of these except a few are inside of the top 10 base categories. And for my last dashboard, I have my top 3 and a fan-based top 3. So I will go over this when I get to the story. Now for the moment we have waited for, let's go ahead and start our story. So let's start off with seeing what a typical listing would look like for an anime recommendation. So very scary when you first look at it, but it's okay. We'll inch closer as the story progresses. So go on the next part. As you can see, the television anime is a popular way of observing each genre of anime, which can range from action, comedy, romance, or etc. So fear tactic of the genre list, and we're just getting a glimpse of what each of the story looks like. In total, there are over 137 million episodes compiled in this list, which is also excluding a lot of newer shows and movies for anime. Again, this is a 4-year-old data set. So there can be a lot bigger numbers in here, there can be a lot less numbers in here, but from the past 30-40 years of animation, we can see that there is a lot to recommend to people. Moving on to the next slide. In this dashboard, we are going to look over the data from all of the anime in the list and compare them to our top 25 list in the bottom left corner. At the top of our list is Death Note with 1 million members with almost 300,000 positive ratings. It's a very scary show and people love thriller. So if you like something that is very mysterious and kind of sci-fi-ish, I would recommend Death Note. Next is Shingeki no Kyojin with almost 900,000 members watching the show and over 200,000 positive ratings. I have not seen the show personally, and I've not looked into this, but after an eye-opening of how many people have watched it and all the good ratings that it has, I would highly recommend this because it's non-biased. Sword Art Online is next with 893,000 members and over 200,000 positive ratings. This is a very broad top 5 list. I would personally not recommend the show at all, just because I could see the popularity in a video game genre, but it is not one of my favorites to watch. But again, unbiased, we're going by the fans, and we'll go on to the next slide. Next is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with 794,000 members and almost 200,000 positive ratings. This is a great show if you just want to watch something very short and sci-fi and scientific. This goes over human law, but again, non-biased. I'm gonna keep it as non-biased as possible, but I would highly recommend it. I've watched this show at least 3 times. And on to the next part. And for the last of our top 5 rating from the fan base, we have Angel Beats with 718,000 members and 197,000 positive ratings. This show will make you cry. If you do not cry in this show, you are inhuman. This is my biased opinion. But for unbiased, it's a very good show. A lot of people have watched it. Moving on, we're going to go to my top 3 recommendations for anime. For the last bit of this story, we're going to go over my top 3 recommendations in anime and also look at what fans would recommend by averaging their ratings. Let's start with my number 1, which I would give to One Punch Man. One Punch Man is 12 episodes long. 12 episodes, I was right. It is about a superhero that is very unrecognizable. He's bald, wears a yellow jumpsuit with a white cape, and people underestimate how strong he is overall. As you can see in the bottom left corner, that is his sidekick. And his name is Genos. He's a cyborg. This is my number 1 because it's a short, funny anime that has a whole lot of meaning to it. But again, I'm trying to reach out from the bias, but these are very popular shonen anime, which I would highly recommend. Next, we'll go on to my number 2, which is Dragon Ball Z. This is the staple crop of anime. If you have at least heard of Dragon Ball Z or Goku or the words Kamehameha at least one point in your life. And with a rating of 8.32 just from this data set alone, it's unimaginable on how many people have not either seen it, known about it, or heard about it. With the max episodes ranging from 291 episodes. Wow. Thought it would be a lot less than that. But if you want something very lengthy and can catch your eye, I would watch Dragon Ball Z. Next, for my last number 3, we will go with Naruto. Naruto is a ninja anime. It gets very boring sometimes because of the filler that is thrown into the show. But who doesn't like a good backstory? If anything, I appreciate this show for how long it's lasted, its continuation of a show, the movies that have came out and spawned from it. It's just a very good, biased opinion of mine, and very unbiased compared to everybody else. But yes, that is it. That is my presentation of the unbiased portion of watching anime and the biased portion. The questions that I have asked in the beginning of the presentation have very much opened my eyes, because I got to saw what I thought was a very good top 3, and then I compared the top 5 of everything, which none of this top 5 had nothing to do with my top 3, which is good and bad, because a lot of people have different opinions on what shows are good for them. I can also show this to my roommate to give him something to watch. I think he started Code Geass last week, which is good, because my Tableau presentation would have helped him a lot, just to give him a better understanding and rating of it. But yeah, I thank you for giving me this opportunity for the presentation. I hope the rest of finals go well for the rest of your classes, and I thank you for everything. Have a nice day.